China has unveiled its first robot security guard. The robot is called Bot.
I've always been scared of dogs, but this one, no problem at all.
Known as an evolving nation, China has constantly put out amazing inventions that have kept the world on its toes for years. From the creation of electric cars to innovative technology involving humanoid robots, the nation earned its place at the top of the charts, and they don't seem to be done.
What happens when robotics meet law enforcement? In China, a new spherical robot is helping police with security patrols and is equipped with advanced features. How will this change public security? Let's explore more in our next story.
Once again, all attention has shifted to the Chinese as the president emerged with his latest project. What could this project entail? Join us as we uncover the Chinese president's first robot bodyguard, which has shocked the whole world. The robot bodyguard. When Chinese President Xi Jinping gathered 24 of the nation's business leaders for a summit last week, one of the surprise attendees was a little-known 34-year-old robot pioneer. Wang Xingjing, Chief Executive Officer of Unitree Robotics, was seated in the first row in front of Jinping, more central than celebrated founders such as Alibaba Group's Jack Ma and Tencent's Pony Ma. The country's state media showered him with attention after the summit, which included a coveted handshake with the Chinese president as everyone fawned over the robot. According to reports from Fox News, a few weeks before the summit was held, Jinping had already been in a meeting with Unitree Robotics, who were eager to unveil their latest project to the president. Xing, whose startup involved making robots agile enough to dance, work, and entertain, appeared to be having a moment as he showcased a rebranded humanoid robot. In a stunning display of technological advancement, China's Unitree Robotics unveiled its latest feat, a humanoid robot that can perform kung fu moves with astonishing precision and balance, but that's not where it ends. According to Xing, the G1, Unitree's compact humanoid robot, had been transformed from a nimble dancer to a martial arts master, showcasing the rapid progress in robotics and artificial intelligence. The president was both stunned and impressed as the G1 was made to display its martial arts capabilities. The showcase was a test run to ensure the president was okay with G1, its features, skills, and overall make, as the robot was scheduled to be instituted as the president's first robot bodyguard. Before the test run, Unitree had been developing the G1 skills, preparing it for its new assignment, which appears to be as fascinating as the robot itself. The process was held in a virtual environment using NVIDIA's Isaac simulator, whereby the robot was made to learn complex behaviors before it even existed in physical form. This innovative method involves creating a digital twin of the humanoid robot that observes and learns from human actions using motion capture and video data. The behaviors are then refined through reinforcement learning in the virtual world. Subsequently, these acquired skills are transferred to the physical robot using a technique called sim to real, which seamlessly bridges the gap between simulated actions and real-world applications. Unlike the main idea regarding robots and their ability to cause more harm than good, the president's new robot bodyguard has been made to do quite the opposite. Aside from constantly protecting the most important figure in China, the G1 has been programmed to work hand in hand with the president's main security team to carry out its tasks effectively. These tasks range from simple jobs like entertaining the president with his dancing skills or more tasking work like fending off potential threats. Acting as the mouthpiece of Unitree, Zhang has said humanoid robots are evolving faster than even he expected, and such products may become widely deployed in service and manufacturing sectors by 2027. He believes Unitree has the potential to do for China's robotics sector what DeepSeek did in artificial intelligence. With this in mind, Zhang and his team aim to pull off technological breakthroughs at relatively low cost, with parallels to what DeepSeek did, raising the potential for China to be able to use robots for industrial, commercial, and even military use. regardless of Unitree's ambitions, the president appears to be excited to acquire his robot bodyguard from the company and wishes them the best. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into Unitree and its involvement in China's robotics evolution. Unitree's humanoid robots.
Along with space, along with AI, we are tracking the development of robotics. And this is a robot developed by Engineered Arts based in Cornwall, England. I am excited to welcome Amica. Amica, welcome to Bloomberg Technology.
Chinese startup Unitree, which initially gained international attention with its quadruped robot dogs, is now gearing up to meet the potentially wider commercial demand for humanoid robots amid continued advances in artificial intelligence. Hangzhou-based Unitree forecasts a breakthrough in humanoid robot capabilities by 2026 when these automatons are enabled with more advanced perception, comprehension, and task execution capabilities. That is expected to turn up more clear-cut commercial uses for humanoid robots within 3 to 5 years. The company made a big splash at the annual Spring Festival Gala, China's most watched television show, where 16 H1 general-purpose humanoid robots joined a troupe of human dancers in a unique performance of the Chinese folk dance Yange. The Lunar New Year Eve performance marked the world's first large-scale, fully AI-driven and fully automated cluster humanoid robot performance in history, Unitree said in a statement. That milestone showing at the Spring Festival Gala reflects the progress being made by Unitree, which has accelerated its humanoid robot efforts over the past 2 years, as the field gets increasingly crowded with more foreign and domestic players as AI models advance, but it doesn't just end here. In an interview with the South China Morning Post, marketing director Huang Jiawei spoke about how the key to humanoid robots was the brain, as he referred to intelligence. He added, however, that so-called embodied intelligence, or what semiconductor giant NVIDIA refers to as physical AI, is still at a very early stage. According to NVIDIA, physical AI enables autonomous machines like robots and self-driving cars to perceive, understand, and perform complex actions in the physical world. Still, that has not deterred Unitree from deploying its humanoid robots for testing on the factory floors of Chinese electric vehicle EV makers NIO and Geely. These robots have also been featured in major trade shows, including the tech industry's annual flagship event, CES, in January, NVIDIA's GTC AI conference in San Jose, California last year, and the Beijing World Robot Conference in 2023. Huang said the company closely follows AI developments, but invests prudently. They center on building better hardware for market needs, and open-source data sets and code, from reinforcement learning to simulation to fostering industry growth. Meanwhile, prominent Western firms that include Tesla with its general-purpose Optimus robot, Figure AI, and Boston Dynamics are making strategic moves to also expand their humanoid robot initiatives. On the mainland, Shenzhen-based UB Tech plans to mass-produce humanoid robots as soon as the end of this year. Meanwhile, other Chinese firms looking to get a foothold in the developing market segment include Agabot, Fourier Intelligence, and Engine AI. Chinese big tech firms Huawei Technologies, Tencent Holdings, Xiaomi, and EV maker XPeng have also developed their prototypes, aiming to find their place in the growing market. Meanwhile, Unitree offers both its humanoid and quadruped robots for sale via its website. The sophisticated H1 humanoid robot, which is about 180 centimeters tall and weighs about 47 kilograms, costs $90,000, excluding customs duties. Also, the G1 AI avatar version, which is 130 centimeters in height and weighs 35 kilograms, costs $16,000, according to information on the site. The executive director, Wang Xingxing, made sure to point out that Unitree's experience in building quadruped robots was what helped provide a solid foundation in hardware, motion control algorithms, and manufacturing for developing humanoid robots. What had seemed like a chance to better an already existing project eventually evolved into a business that has majorly drawn attention to China and placed Unitree right at the top of the charts. Keep watching, cause this next part is sure to keep you glued to your screens. The origin of Wang Xingxing's robotics empire. A native of the southern Chinese city of Ningbo, Wang Xingxing's passion for robotics dates back to his university days. Due to poor English proficiency, he failed to gain admission to Zhejiang University for his master's studies and was instead placed at Shanghai University. According to the Late Post interview, while pursuing a master's degree at Shanghai University, he spent around 20,000 yuan to design and build his first robotic dog, a prototype quadruped dubbed X-Dog. That work earned him 80,000 yuan in prize money from a local competition, and after graduating in 2016, he joined drone maker DJI. X-Dog, however, received plenty of media coverage at home and abroad, and received a warm response from the global robotics community. That prompted Wang to quit DJI and launch Unitree in August of 2016, when he started to get inquiries from both potential buyers and investors for X-Dog. Not long after its launch, it became the world's first company to publicly retail high-performance quadruped robots. The firm now has nearly 500 employees, with a commendable record of technological advancement in manufacturing and engineering robotics. The name Unitree references lighting up the universe's tech tree, a phrase Wang borrowed from the process of unlocking new capabilities in Chinese strategy video games, but that's not all. The person behind Unitree's progress in the field of robotics has been confirmed to be the founder, Wang Xingxing, who serves as both the company's chief executive and chief technology officer. Working as the chief executive, Wang handles the major decisions while also making sure Unitree gets the recognition it deserves. One of his methods of putting Unitree and its latest venture, the humanoid robots, right at the top was his collaboration with the President of China, Xi Jinping, which was announced officially at the President's Summit a week ago. Assigning a robot to the President to serve as his bodyguard was a huge step that has in turn benefited Unitree and Wang. However, some American politicians have expressed concerns that such machines may threaten the country's business and defense interests. In a Wall Street Journal column last year, U.S. lawmaker Katie Britt and Jacob Hellberg, then commissioner of the U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, wrote that Washington must act swiftly to curb the threat of Chinese robots. They name-checked Unitree for its advances. According to them, Unitree's humanoid robots would have both defensive and offensive national security implications. As the U.S. military sets out to explore ways to incorporate humanoids into modern warfare, China seems to have already deployed armed robotics to the battlefield. The lawmakers believe that if the U.S. falls further behind in such critical technology, their troops would have to eventually face fatal disadvantages on the battlefield. In response to requests for comment, Unitree reported that their products were made solely for civilian use, and the company had no intention to use their products for military purposes. Unitree also pointed to a joint statement from 2022 in which firms including Unitree and Boston Dynamics pledged not to weaponize their robots. The robotics company believes the lawmakers' worries are baseless, and their goal to create domestic humanoid robots won't change just because they upgraded their features. Unitree's main focus is to expand its robots' capabilities and improve the company's technology as artificial intelligence advances. In an exclusive interview with Titanium Media APP, Wang revealed that the fundamental reason behind the humanoid robotics boom is the emergence of large AI models. Previously, it would take 1 to 2 years for a humanoid robot to learn to walk, but now, with AI algorithms, this can be achieved in just 1 month. Regarding the future development of humanoid robots, Wang expressed strong optimism. He believes that by the end of 2025, at least one company worldwide will have developed a general-purpose robotic AI model. Wang also told TMT that he believes within our lifetime, humanoid robots will be able to revolutionize every industry, from manufacturing and agriculture to services and industrial sectors. Due to this, technology will advance, and the future will be made easier and better, with humanoid robots playing a huge role in this advancement. The surprising target of China's enemies. In recent years, China's presidential helicopter has faced a staggering number of attempted attacks. Some insiders put the count at more than 40 since the turn of the decade. Each time, hostile forces tried to breach its advanced defenses, but ended up failing. This prestigious aircraft, rumored to cost tens of millions of dollars, lifts off from a special helipad not far from Zhongnanhai. It uses high-tech systems like missile jammers, decoys, and bulletproof plating that turn it into a secure airborne fortress.
Chinese fighter jet. Take a look. You can actually see it cutting right in front of a U.S. military plane.
Some say it can keep functioning during nuclear alerts while flying through extreme monsoon conditions. Officials also drop cryptic hints about hidden settings that shield the helicopter from radar and electronic snooping. They rarely talk about these features in public, which makes outsiders wonder if it really has some sort of stealth technology. The official line is that these systems are strictly classified to protect national security. But how did China's leader end up traveling around in a helicopter that seems to come straight out of a spy movie? The story goes all the way back to the dawn of the nuclear age, right after the People's Republic of China witnessed that nuclear weapons had the power to devastate massed forces on any beach or front line. Senior military figures then realized it was too dangerous to cluster troops, ships, and gear in traditional beach landings when atomic bombs could wipe them out in a single strike. This looming threat forced China's military planners to consider a faster, more flexible way of moving forces. In the late 1940s, a general named Li Mingxiao championed the idea of setting up an experimental helicopter squadron. People scoffed at these whirly-birds, especially since they looked fragile compared to heavy bombers or newly minted fighter jets. But Li Mingxiao was convinced. If an enemy tried a nuclear strike on a coastal landing zone, a helicopter force could dodge the worst of the fallout, or at least distribute troops more widely and safely. This early concept sowed the seeds of what would become the Chinese Presidential Helicopter Unit. Back then, China's newly formed military was busy acquiring hardware from various sources, and the first helicopters that landed on Chinese soil were small, basic models that carried a handful of soldiers or cargo. Technicians had to learn from scratch how to maintain the rotor systems, gearboxes, and fragile fuselages. Who would have guessed that these clumsy-looking craft would one day evolve into a fleet dedicated to transporting the head of state? Today, the Chinese president's helicopter is no longer just a test bed for nuclear-age ideas. It has turned into a flying command center, able to coordinate real-time intelligence, run government functions, and even handle emergencies if other lines of communication fail. It also keeps pace with the latest threats, whether they're mid-range missiles or sophisticated cyber interference. Every flight is a carefully choreographed operation that draws on decades of lessons, each new generation of aircraft incorporating cutting-edge materials and designs that make it harder for enemies to detect or attack.
The Chinese J-16 jet at the wing of the U.S. surveillance plane, then veering across the sky in a move known as thumping.
The early days of helicopter warfare. The military's first dedicated helicopter squadron, formed in the early 1950s, didn't start off as any sort of VIP unit. Known simply as Squadron 56, it was stationed at a small base near Tianjin, so it could conduct experiments on troop transport and amphibious operations. Some of the earliest aircraft included the small YZ-3 helicopter and a slightly larger BZ-2, both made under license from foreign designs. Neither had creature comforts, no cabin heating, practically no soundproofing, and barely enough power to fly a squad of soldiers in one trip. Despite these limitations, these machines made a big impact during training exercises. Generals watched as helicopters offered a unique advantage: vertical envelopment. Instead of hitting a beach in large, predictable waves, soldiers could be dropped far behind the lines or onto challenging terrains like hillsides and forest clearings. Over time, the squadron expanded its roles to medical evacuation, reconnaissance, and delivering critical supplies during disasters. A conflict in the early 1950s tested these ideas. Although details remain classified, stories suggest that the helicopter crews of Squadron 56 flew medical teams into dangerous areas to retrieve casualties. They also helped direct artillery fire from safe vantage points in the sky. This success convinced high-level commanders that the helicopter was more than just a gadget. It was a new way of waging war, or, in peaceful times, providing emergency relief. By the end of the decade, Squadron 56 upgraded to better airframes. The YZ-4 model could lift heavier loads and navigate more challenging weather conditions. Pilots learned that swirling winds, heavy fog, and mountainous terrain demanded specialized training. Mechanical glitches were common too, especially when parts were in short supply. Yet each operational run, whether it was ferrying officials or rescuing stranded villagers during floods, brought a deeper understanding of helicopter potential. No one anticipated that, in just a few years, these same rotorcraft would be called on for a new and unexpected mission, transporting China's top leaders. It took an unforeseen crisis for the government to realize the speed and direct access helicopters could provide. A surprise mission for the president. The major turning point happened in the late 1950s, when President Chen Longwu needed to visit a remote region after a series of deadly earthquakes. The roads leading to the epicenter were in terrible shape.
China President Hu Jintao toured the quake disaster area Friday, meeting some of the stunned survivors.
And the local airstrip was barely operational due to cracks in the runway. The president's staff scrambled for alternatives. A phone call to Squadron 56's base revealed that a helicopter and crew were already on standby for cargo runs in the neighboring province. Colonel Jiang Wei, a pioneering pilot, soon found himself tasked with a mission that no one had ever practiced, flying the president to a disaster zone in a helicopter. Fuel calculations were tight, weather updates looked iffy, and many wondered if the older YZ-4 could handle the load of the president plus a small security team. Jiang Wei believed it could work if they stripped out all non-essential equipment. Sure enough, they managed to land on a makeshift pad near the affected region. The president spent hours surveying damage, meeting evacuees, and coordinating relief with local officials, then hopped back onto the helicopter for a swift return to Beijing. That single flight turned heads across the government. The notion that the president could skip roads and land almost anywhere seemed like a game changer, especially when time was critical. Soon after, top leaders requested a dedicated helicopter for domestic travel. Maintaining a stable leadership presence in emergencies became a national priority, and the stage was set for specialized presidential aviation.
Aviation analyst Captain Michael Yao Fuli says the country's lack of maintenance culture does not guarantee a new presidential aircraft will function.
By the mid-1960s, Colonel Jiang Wei was no longer just a test pilot. He was leading an initiative to outfit helicopters for high-level transport. Engineers added more comfortable seats, upgraded avionics for safer landings, and installed better communication systems so the president could stay connected to government offices while in flight. For security, they fitted bullet-resistant panels around the cabin and replaced older windows with thicker, stronger glass. This was the humble beginning of what would later be called Crane 1, the Chinese president's helicopter. General Li Mingxiao's vision. Around the same time, General Li Mingxiao, known for his earlier push into rotary wing warfare, stepped in to make Crane 1 a robust reality. He convinced the Central Military Commission that the existing helicopters were too outdated and that a new design, or at least a major upgrade, was needed to keep the president genuinely safe. Extensive discussions led to the development of a specialized version of the YZ-6 helicopter, which had better engines and improved flight stability. General Li Mingxiao also oversaw the building of new facilities near Beijing. One of these was a purpose-built helipad inside the Zhongnanhai complex. Security sweeps made sure no suspicious structures overlooked the landing site, and a discreet corridor allowed the president to move from the helicopter to the main halls without fanfare. At the same time, General Li arranged for additional training for pilots, focusing on quick descents into cramped urban zones, nighttime operations, and evasive maneuvers against hypothetical surface-to-air missiles. In late 1969, the newly upgraded YZ-6 took off on its maiden VIP flight with the president on board. Observers noted that it flew more smoothly and generated less turbulence on landing compared to previous models. Word got around that it had radar-absorbing paint, though officials remained vague. Regardless, it was clear that Crane 1 was now equipped for bigger challenges. But even with the new model, security challenges persisted. Ensuring the president's helicopter wasn't singled out by enemies was a major focus. General Lee introduced the concept of matching helicopters. A small group of them would fly in close formation, each identical in markings and maneuvers. This tactic made it difficult for an enemy to guess which one carried the president. Over the years, it developed into a more elaborate routine that would baffle even modern surveillance: nuclear scares and the need for hardening. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, as tensions rose in various parts of the world, the question of nuclear threats loomed ever larger.
And I wonder, Mr. President, what you would say to him if he is considering using chemical or tactical nuclear weapons.
Don't.
Military planners worried about what would happen if a surprise nuclear strike disabled Beijing or major command centers. Could the president's helicopter still function if electromagnetic pulses, EMPs, knocked out regular electronics? A series of top-secret drills tested these scenarios. The unit installed EMP-resistant wiring and backup communication hubs inside the helicopter, ensuring that critical controls wouldn't fry in a nuclear blast. Engineers also rerouted certain cables through shielded channels and upgraded the pilot's instrument panel with simpler analog dials that could still work without electricity-hungry digital systems. Skeptics wondered if all these efforts were worth the cost, but supporters pointed out that a single crippling wave of electromagnetic energy could ground every unprotected aircraft in the country if it wasn't prepared. During one particularly tense phase of Sino-Soviet relations, the president's helicopter took part in an exercise that simulated large-scale nuclear disruptions. To keep things realistic, a specialized electromagnetic generator set off bursts of intense pulses. Pilots reported that their primary instruments flickered, but the backup systems handled the surge without catastrophic failure. Although details were never made public, a few team members later hinted that it was the scariest test flight of their careers, and that it proved the helicopter could keep flying under terrifying conditions. After these tests, the entire unit became even more secretive. Officials recognized that if an adversary knew how well the helicopter was protected, they might target its vulnerabilities more precisely. The helicopter's stealth factor became part of national security lore, with rumors swirling about ghost mode operations in which the helicopter barely showed up on radar. Outside experts speculated that the craft might deploy advanced radio frequency inhibitors or low observable coatings. The shift toward modern comfort and command. Even as the helicopter gathered advanced security features, it evolved into a more comfortable flying office for the nation's leader. By the 1990s, the president could hold video conferences, read classified documents on secure terminals, and speak with military commanders across the country, all from the helicopter cabin. This was a big jump from the noisy, cramped setups of the past. One key figure here was Major General Sun Yuhan, an engineer-turned-commander who believed the helicopter should be both a fortress and a boardroom. He oversaw the redesign of the interior, installing seats that absorbed rotor vibrations and dramatically improved noise insulation. Crews dismantled entire sections of the cabin to add data lines, satellite communication modules, and more intuitive lighting. By the time they finished, the helicopter had turned into something of a tech hub in the sky, allowing the president to stay connected with the State Council, the Central Military Commission, and local governments. Major General Sun also insisted on upgrading flight controls to reduce pilot workload. This included partial fly-by-wire technology that took some tasks off the pilot's shoulders, freeing them to focus on potential hazards or unexpected shifts in weather.
British military pilots being recruited by China to train PLA soldiers.
During flight tests, President Lin Yongsheng once teased the pilots that the ride was smoother than a quick drive on a Beijing highway, which was ironically true given the city's legendary traffic. Although no official statements were released, Many suspected that further stealth improvements came with these modernization efforts, possibly integrated into the fresh engine pods and tail assembly. By the late 1990s, multiple helicopters in the fleet had reached this high standard. They were collectively known as the Crane 1 Group, constantly rotated and maintained so that no single airframe was overused. Observers noticed that each helicopter had near-identical paint jobs and markings, supporting the practice of flying in groups for security. A setback and a comeback. But advanced technology can be a double-edged sword. In the early 2000s, China decided it needed a next-generation replacement for the Crane 1 Group. Various state-backed aviation firms jumped into this ambitious project, which some insiders referred to as the Azure Falcon initiative. The aim was to build a brand new helicopter from the ground up with even better speed, quieter rotors, and superlative electronic defenses. Costs, however, soared. Timeframes slipped. Early prototypes reportedly had trouble stabilizing in high-altitude tests near Tibet, and the flight control software had persistent bugs. In 2007, rumors spread that the entire Azure Falcon project was at risk of cancellation. Engineers frantically tried to solve mechanical issues and reconcile conflicting demands from different government agencies. Something had to give. By 2009, top officials pulled the plug on the large-scale plan. Billions of yuan had been spent with little to show beyond a few half-functional prototypes and some interesting data. This left the existing Crane 1 Group, already aging, in a difficult spot. The unit had no immediate replacement. Pilots joked that they might start scrounging parts from museum pieces. Behind the scenes, the team launched an all-out push to keep the older helicopters mission-ready. They formed a partnership with advanced manufacturing firms in Shenzhen, exploring the idea of 3D printing certain spare parts that were no longer in production. They also struck deals with private research labs to produce specialized composites for rotor blades. By 2012, the extended maintenance and modernization efforts paid off. The Crane 1 Group was still in service and even more technologically refined than before, bridging the gap until another plan to replace or upgrade them emerged. As Unitree aims to build an empire of advanced technology using robotics and humanoid robots, will their plans help better the world as they intend to do? Or will things end up getting out of hand, leading to a bigger problem? Let us know what you think in the comment section. Remember to share, like, and subscribe for more videos. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You will love it.